Shoots and Scores Hockey Talk, where we talk everything hockey. I am John.
I'm Mike.
I'm Chris.
Okay, guys, let's go. Our first topic for tonight's discussion is, of course, the playoffs, and the majority of the series are done in the first round, 6 of the 8, I believe. So I want to go over all 8 series with Mike and Chris here tonight. Now, Chris, I want to start with you, and of course, the Hurricanes and the Devils. Any surprises at all? I suspect you're gonna tell me no. What do you think?
Of
Were you
course,
surprised by
no.
anything?
Of course, no. History says no, right? Rob Brindamore, 7 years as coach, 7 playoff appearances, and 7 straight first-round victories. It's the Carolina way, right? No, the Devils had too many injuries to overcome, and of
Yeah.
course, more continued as the series started and went through. They kept on losing defensemen. Brett Pesce, though, played like a beast. The former Carolina Hurricane, who have we definitely did not want to give up, but the salary cap is there, and you have to make tough choices. But he was outstanding, and Markstrom had some bad periods, and then he had some periods where he stood on his head. But overall, yeah, I think the better team won, and we move on to the second round once again.
Okay, before I move on to Mike and ask him about the Washington Montreal series, I want to ask you: did Brett Burns fulfill his role?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
are you asking me or Chris?
No, I'm asking Chris, but you can
yeah.
step
Oh,
in too.
sorry. No, go ahead. You,
Yeah,
you cut out on me
Burns.
for a
Yeah,
second.
Burns and Slavin had one bad game, game number 3. Other than that, Brett, Mr. Burns actually did well. No massive turnovers, no bonehead mistakes, and he held his own, which was good to see.
Mike, did you want to add something to that, or?
No, nothing really. I mean, the series went pretty much exactly as we thought it would. So
Right,
we'll say that Carolina taking them out in 5 uh, isn't surprising. I think we said 5 or 6 when we
right,
first
yeah.
made our picks. So
Okay, well, Mike, now we'll go on to you with the Washington Montreal series. Now, I'll be honest with you. When I was writing up these questions the other night, I really wanted to ask Chris about this series because I know he loves these two teams so much. But I decided to give him a break and ask you instead. Mike, what did you think? I mean, lots of the Montreal fans I think were believing that maybe Montreal could come back and win this thing after Game 3.
uh, I didn't share their belief. I think Washington pretty much was going to take this series as we expected, and they did. I think that the Montreal let Tom Wilson get in their head a little bit there.
I agree.
He really kind of had these guys on the team, maybe some of them more thinking about taking out their frustration on him as opposed to on the goalie and trying to score some goals. But Washington played well. Montreal, they didn't play bad. I mean, they played some of the games were pretty close. So, but at the end of the day, I mean, Washington just has a little more talent, and Montreal being unable to contain the top line really hurt them. I mean, Strome had 7 or 8 points.
Mm-hmm.
Ovechkin had roughly the same. I think it's
4
6 or 7.
goals.
Yeah, so I mean, they weren't able to contain the top line. The Capitals had guys like McMichael stirring it up, Tom Wilson stirring it up, and um, Montreal just their top line was kept in check for the most part. They didn't do a ton of scoring, so and with Montembeault getting hurt, I don't know. I mean, Dovish played well. However, I don't know if they would have had enough confidence in him to win the series as they would have with Montembeault. And that overtime game was key. That the one that they lost, so they really needed to win that in order to keep that series close. So
Yeah, I think we pretty much got what we thought. I think you guys you both called that right. So I'm going to move on with Chris now and talk about the Leafs and the Senators. Yes. Anything surprise you, Chris?
No, no. At the start, the Leafs were scoring goals, and I think I made a comment about Allmark. If you believe in him, good luck.
Right. Yes.
Um, but Allmark did turn it around, in the games 3-6, right, and he gave Ottawa a chance to win. I know after Game 5, a lot of Leaf fans and people out there were talking about the 1-11 or 1-12 in elimination games for the Maple Leafs with the core
Yep.
four in
Yes.
place, right? And that was big talk. And I think Whitey reached out to me before Game 6, and I said I feel like the Leafs are, yeah, they're going to take care of this now, right? I don't care what happened. I don't care if Brady's a Chuck walking around saying we're coming back on this ice. Brady, you know what I think about the Chucks? They're idiots. So good, a lot of egg on his face saying that, right? Because game to game is different. Doesn't matter. Yes, you won in Maple Leaf Gardens. Leafs weren't that great. You knew they're gonna come play the next game, and
And
took
they
care of
did.
business.
They played well last night. I admit.
Yes.
All right. And Mike, finally, let's go on to the last series in the East, the Florida and Tampa series. I believe everybody got that series wrong, you and Chris both, and if you would have asked me, I would have got it wrong as well. Mike, what in hell happened?
Ah, man, like this series was the one that surprised me the most. I was fully expecting this to go 7 games, and to have this happen, like Andre Vasilevsky's wondering the same because he made a quote there today, I believe it was, and basically that's what he said. He's like, "What the just happened?" And he just said that they couldn't find what it was that had them playing well, and the record at home has been terrible in the playoffs this year and last year. So he has no answers either. So he's still trying to figure it out. But Florida basically played the same way they did on their run last year. They played a strong two-way game. Every line was contributing. Well, the top 3 lines were contributing. The defense played well. The goaltending was good, and Tampa had no answer for it. Like Tampa couldn't get the power play going as well as they did in the regular season. Mind you, Florida didn't give them a ton of power play opportunities, and I mean their biggest guy that gets penalties generally is Sam Bennett, and he only had two-minute penalties. So
Right, right.
you
Uh,
know, yeah, I was totally shocked. I mean, picked Tampa to go to the final here, and I'm pleasantly surprised though, as I have a lot of Florida players in my hockey pool, so I'm quite happy that they won, even though I picked Tampa to go to the finals.
I thought too, because I watched some of these games, and I thought it just seemed like Tampa, they seemed, I don't know, lackadaisical, not desperate. I don't know I mean, maybe you guys would have a better terminology for it, or maybe you would.
Well, after that first game, they should have been playing a little desperate because they got stomped 6-2 in the first game at
Yeah,
home. Like that should have been the wake up call right there, and they didn't respond. They lost the next game as well. So losing 2 in a row at home when you have full home ice advantage, tough to come back from that.
right.
When 3 of the next 4 games are in Florida. So
I also thought Tampa took some bad penalties too while they were at it. Chris, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, I'd say what's it? Hindsight is 2020. I know usually after a playoff run, most teams will come out and say, "Hey, we had look all our guys that were injured." Right. I'll go through the list that Tampa released today. Uh, Borkstrand, he was out before the playoffs even started. Compartment syndrome. I have no idea what that is. I'll have to look it up after. Cirelli had a grade 2 MCL sprain. Glendening had a right shoulder AC joint separation. Um, Yanni Gord had a broken finger. We know Hagel got concussed when he got forearm shivered.
Right? Yeah.
Victor Hedman has a broken bone in his foot. Kucherov has a left hand injury. Nick Paul has a left wrist tear, and Eric Cernak had a left knee contusion. Right. This may have, as you've seen, maybe a lack of push for that team, but that's a lot of guys not healthy and well. And then the flip side, look at Florida. What did Florida do the month before the playoffs started? Barkov took time off. Bennett took time off. We know Tkachuk was out. Um, I think Reinhardt missed a week or two or some
He missed a
games, right?
few. He missed a few games. Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like Florida was trying to help with their injuries, while these Tampa guys, other than Borkstrand, I'm pretty sure they played right to the end of the season. So this could have been, one of the key reasons why the series
Yeah.
went the way
I
it did.
think Tampa was really trying to win the division.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I think so too. And like Chris said, these guys they didn't rest any of them. Like they all played. Kucherov didn't miss a game. Maybe
No.
it's because they wanted him to like finish at the top of the scoring race. But but yeah, they didn't rest any guys, and Florida did. And with Florida being on such a slide for the last month of the season, and Florida and Tampa being so hot, one of the reasons why we picked Tampa to win. And like I said, Florida looks like they were just playing possum the whole time and slapped them around pretty good. So they're gonna be a difficult out now that they've got things rolling.
All right. Well, I think we're going to move on to the Western Conference, guys. Now we're going to start with Chris here. The Jets and the Blues. Chris, I'm still not convinced of the Jets here. I mean, they're playing tonight. We're recording this on Friday night. So the Jets and Blues play tonight, game 6. Has this series gone according to plan, Chris? What do you think?
Uh, Pretty much. Yeah. Right. Home team is holding serve. I know after the first two games, I think you were concerned about the St. Louis Blues, and then Blues went on home ice and won pretty handily both times.
But it didn't even look like the same team. I was
Yeah.
like, you got to be kidding me. It looks like somebody abducted these guys and put new players on the ice and gave them the same faces. I was like, this
Yeah.
can't be the same team.
Sometimes, sleeping in your own bed, home cooking, and being at your home rink, it gets you that burst of energy you needed, and they definitely took advantage of it. And they'll probably need it again tonight. Um, but I know me and Mike, I think we both said 7 games for this series. We both said we expect the Jets to win because can they lose another first round, with supposedly the best goalie in the world in Hellebuck? And unfortunately, in the games that they've lost, Hellebuck has not looked very good.
Well, he certainly
Uh,
hasn't stolen any games for them.
no. I know Frank Savelli. I saw him talking about it, and I think what he stated was 100% correct. The Winnipeg Jets are a good team, but they have a great goalie, and when he's playing great, then they look like they have a great team, right? If he's not great, this is not the best team in hockey, right? And it's showing whenever Hellebuck does struggle, but we'll see. Yeah, I think the Blues, I'm sure they should win tonight, and then we're going to see Game 7, and that's the old flip a coin, and whoever
Yep, flip the
wins
coin.
goes through. Yeah.
All right, okay. Mike, let's go on to the Stars and the Avalanche. Now, has this series surprised you in any way?
No. As far as what the series is, I believe I picked Colorado in 7 for this one. This is the back and forth battles that I was expecting the whole time in this series. Now, with that being said, Colorado's goaltending uh, is the question mark. Can they get this done in the next game? Because last night's game did not look good
No,
for Blackwood. I mean, he let in 4 goals on, I think it was less than 20 shots at the time that he gave up the 4th goal, and in the game. And he's lucky that the Avalanche came out to win this game because they had almost 50 shots on Ottinger, and there was a lot of high quality chances too. It's like they came out to play. Not that Dallas didn't, but they were scrambling in their own zone. That top line, Landeskog has made such a huge difference once they got him in the lineup. Um, and we thought that it might take him a little time to get going based off of being off for 2 years, but it's like he hasn't missed the game. He's out there playing like he did in the past, and I think Colorado's still going to pull this out, especially if they can play like they did last game because they almost doubled Dallas in shots. I do expect Heiskanen probably to be back in the lineup now that it's a game 7. We'll see. But Colorado also in the game last night was playing a lot more physically than Dallas was. I mean, they were hammering these guys into the boards like left and right whenever they could. So,
yeah.
and generally, the team that can score and play physical generally wins the series. Colorado's been a little more physical, and yeah, so I think it's going to be Colorado to win despite the goaltending because I think Ottinger's by far the better goalie, and we've all agreed on that. So
Yeah, I would have to agree. And from what I saw of the game last night, and I didn't watch all of it, it's just on too late for me, unfortunately. But what I did see of it, Colorado sure takes off with the puck in a hell of a hurry. They go fast.
yeah, they do, and I mean the fact it almost looked like they were going to lose because they were down 4-3 with
I know.
what was it 7-8 minutes left in the game. Wasn't a lot of time left, and then they tied it, and then they got went ahead, and then they got a couple empty netters to finish it off. So, but it's going to be a really good game seven. It's going to be probably one of the best games in the first round, I would think.
All right, Chris, the Golden Knights and the Wild. Now, what have you been thinking about these two teams in this series? What is this pretty much what you expected?
The end result, yeah, yeah. I think we had Vegas in 5 or 6. I can't remember the exact numbers we had, but we felt like Vegas was going to take this one. They're a team built for the playoffs. A lot of veterans, a lot of guys have been there before. Even though Aiden Hale didn't have the best series, which could become more worrisome in the next round. I think that's their only concern from a team effort. Um, I will mention though, this is a stat that I just saw this morning or yesterday, and I was shocked about it, mostly because I wasn't even aware about it. Mostly because we talk about the Leafs' inability to win, get out of the first round. We've been talking about the Kings' inability to beat the Oilers in the first round, and the Wild have lost 8 first round series in a row.
Yeah, right. Yes, I
And
did
I'm
know
just
that
like, how come this isn't front page news, right?
because it's in
We
Minnesota,
don't.
I guess.
I guess it must be because of the market, right? Because it's not talked about at all. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Was the last time the one was Gaborov or no Gabrorik? Was he still around there when they last won? I don't know. I remember them going with a big run with them, but it feels like it's a wild. It's been a wild pun since they've done anything there in the
It's
Minnesota
been a
Wild.
wild pun intended, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, Mike, finally, the Kings and the Oilers. Now, Chris, I'm going to get your thoughts on this series too. To me, some of the stuff I was surprised about, like I would say number one would probably be Tampa Bay and Florida, but this has to be number two. This surprised me a lot. Mike, what do you think about this? The Kings and the Oilers.
Yeah, I mean, we all I think we all picked the Kings to win this series, and
Yes.
just because of their home record, they've played so well at home. And I mean, the fact that they were up 2-0 in this series, I mean, they had their foot right on the Oilers' throat here. Stuart Skinner couldn't stop a beach ball. Um, so the goalie change in Edmonton, even though I don't think Pickard is a huge upgrade over Skinner, seemed to have ignited that team to play much better. But the first two games, like the Kings scored so many goals that I don't even know if Stuart Skinner is going to be back next year. I mean, how can they, right? So, but they needed to get that third win within the first 4 games in order to win this series. And the fact that they didn't and let the Oilers back in, you can't let a team with McDavid and Draisaitl back in the series. And when Bouchard scored that late goal, I don't remember if it was third period or overtime in Game 3.
It's it was third period.
Yeah. So I mean, when he scored that hurt. And Kemper, the last 2-3 games, did not look very good. Mind you, it's the Oilers' offense. So I mean, once they get it rolling, pretty much any goalie's not going to look very good when they're going full tilt. So still thought the Kings were gonna win that series even after losing the 2 games in Edmonton, going back home. But once they lost that home game, that was it. They were done.
Chris, what do you think about this nightmare situation for the Kings, who have faced the Oilers now 4 consecutive years, first round, and have not been able to beat them?
Yeah, yeah. Well, in our show when we talked about this series, I said that if they don't, they're set up to win this year, and if they don't, I do not know where they go. And unfortunately, we have reached this point where they did not. Um, and I know in social media, a lot of other people out there are saying basically the same thing, right? The two funny quotes is one saying they need to go to the KHL and reset themselves for a year. Another one is like they should just take a sabbatical for a year, right?
Oh, yes,
And try to
that'd be
rethink,
a great
right?
idea.
But
Sure.
because, like, as I mentioned, as long as McDavid and Dreisaitl's there, they ain't getting past them, and right, going forward, right? This was the year, the opportunity. Um, and there's a quote here. I'll list off a few things about the series about on the LA Kings, right? So they said the LA Kings had a Vezina nominated goalie. They had the top power play in the first round of the playoffs. They had home ice advantage. They led the most minutes in the series, second most goals in the playoffs, and they lost. I, I'm not trying to disown what the Oilers did here, but it's like this feels like more how did the Kings choke on this one? Like how did they blow this one? More than how great the Oilers are. Um, Oilers have their
Well,
top players, and I'll give yeah, Pickard, Skinner, whatever. They're not very good. But at least in Game 6, the Oiler role players did step up and score.
they
Because
did.
I said,
They
Draisaitl
did.
and McDavid, if you expect them to score 4 points a game, you're not going to win, right? So at least they stepped up for this Game 6 and got them through. But we'll see what happens next round when they play a more experienced, better team, bigger team. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, I feel
I
terrible
did.
for the Kings. I'm not. Yeah,
And
they got some
to
issues going forward.
add to sorry to add to that, Jeff Skinner still has not won a playoff game
No,
because he
no,
didn't
he
play.
was scratching
He
those games
didn't
they
play
won.
in any of the games the Oilers won. I think
There's a
he was
reason why the
scratched.
Canes got rid of him, right? There's a reason why the Canes got rid of him.
So we'll see if the Jeff Skinner curse takes. Maybe they probably won't play him again. So we'll have to
I,
see.
I had a little chat back and forth with our good friend Sean. We were talking, messaging back and forth about the LA Kings. He said the exact same thing that you said, Chris, and Mike. I don't know where they go from here. That was his exact words, or I'm paraphrasing, but it's pretty damn close to it. So even a longtime Kings fan. How long has he been a Kings fan? 25 years or whatever it is. So, and he's saying, he doesn't know where they go from here. One thing that I noticed, like it's once again, it's the same thing here as the Blues. The Kings, they started out great though, and then just couldn't hold a lead. Although I know the Blues, they look like different people and different players altogether in games 3 and 4. The Kings are sort of, the same way. They sort of look like different players in a certain way. Not for the whole game though, but for when it mattered the most.
Yeah, agreed.
I was just really shocked. And it can't happen too often where a team wins the first 2 games at home and then loses 4 in a row. That
No.
can't be a very common thing. So I'm quite shocked, and I'm glad. I want the Oilers to win, but I just didn't think that it was going to end like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris and I were talking before you got on the air, Mike, and I was saying about how Bouchard held that puck in when the Kings player had a chance to clear it, and they probably would have won the game. He held it in, and whatever it is, X amount of minutes later, he scores.
Yeah.
And it just changed the whole damn series. One play changed everything, or it sure seemed like it.
Yeah,
So
and you want to talk about one play changing a series? We want to go back to that Minnesota Vegas series
sure, yeah, go ahead.
game, game 5 in overtime when Nyquist was offside by
That's,
like millimeters
yeah.
when Hartman scored in overtime,
Right, yes.
would have given Minnesota a 3-2 series lead. It's the little things like that that can cost you big time in the end. And I mean that was the turning point of the series right there. That goal.
Yep.
and then Vegas winning that game. That was it there. So
All right. Well, I'm going to move on to our third topic here. I want to know, I want to move on to the third topic here. What went according to plan and what didn't? Now, Mike, I'm going to start with you. What went according to the plan and what didn't? I mean, so anything else besides what you've said already?
um, geez, what? Well, I mean, I know, and not getting off topic of what went to plan and what didn't, but the officiating has taken a lot of abuse, like in which they do every playoff series.
Yes. Yep.
Um, as soon as one team is starting to get a little bit more calls, or some things aren't called, the other coach goes off on the referees and to try to rebalance the calls. Basically, happens every year in the playoffs. Um, so to see that, I mean, you've seen there's been multiple series where the coach would be asked after the game, like the goalie interference calls, the specifically Rod Brindamore. He was, and I don't blame him. Like the, when
Yeah, that was a
Anderson
mess.
when Anderson got hurt, I mean, did the defenseman touch Meyer? Yeah, maybe a little bit, but not to the effect that he knocks Anderson into the back of the net. So I mean, that should have been a call. I can't believe it wasn't. Did they originally call a 5-minute penalty or something on that?
They
Nothing.
They
Nope,
didn't
no
call
call.
anything originally.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, I was thinking about the Montreal game. They had called originally a 5 minute there and then
Okay,
changed it. But yeah,
I knew one of them. Yeah, but it's things like that coaches will kind of do to kind of shift the focus, I guess, to like I said, rebalance the call. So as soon as one starts griping, then I don't know for certain, but I mean the referees tend to balance it out a lot afterwards. So,
sure.
but as far as what went right, what didn't, like I know we talked about the Tampa series, like that was a shocker to me. The Kings losing when they were ahead by so much. Um, those are the couple of things that went wrong. But what went right? The Carolina, we expected that to happen there. The Capitals winning. Vegas, I mean, although that series could have changed based off of the goal that we had just discussed.
Yep. Could have, but didn't.
Yeah. So, I don't really have a ton to add when it comes to that. I think we covered a lot of it already,
Yeah,
but
we did. Yeah.
the St. Louis Winnipeg game, I mean, in St. Louis tonight, St. Louis, this is their chance. If they can jump all over Winnipeg off the get go, it's going to be a great game 7, much like the Colorado Dallas game going to game 7. That's going to be a really good one.
Chris, did you want to add anything to this, or is that pretty much
Uh,
everything?
yeah. I can add to that Timo Meyer guy. Not a fan, and not just the Anderson play, where, but the refs did look at it, they reviewed it, and said no penalty, which was most of social media, most people out there was like, what? Like
Yeah.
Meyer shifted his weight into
Yes.
Anderson.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right, he shifted his weight into him. As soon as he did, he skated off very quickly. He knew what he did.
Yeah.
I think it was game 2 where Brett Burns kind of brought his helmet towards him and he threw his head back. I was like, this guy, like, yeah, he was fishing for calls and doing. Yeah, I didn't like. I'm not a fan of Timo Meyer after watching all that crap. But it's going to get worse. Now we're going to get Tom Wilson, and Tom Wilson's not going to kind of hide it. He's going to flaunt it on us. But
Oh yeah. Yeah.
other than that, Tampa Bay, right, had him in the Stanley Cup Finals, so that stick on. Uh, everything else, yeah, and of course, yeah, we talked about the Kings already and their plight they're in.
All right. Well, since you're
Looks like
talking about Tampa and the Stanley Cup Finals, let's move on to our fourth topic. And now that we've discussed what has happened, why don't we figure out what you think is going to happen in round 2? Now, we do know 6 of the 8 series for sure, so that's good. So why don't we start with you, Chris, and we'll go to the West. Or
You want me
sorry,
to, East.
Chris, let's start with you and go to the East.
That's right. The best.
What
Yeah.
do you
So
what do you have penciled out for the Eastern Conference with
yeah.
what?
So
And we
both.
do know the entire Eastern Conference, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah. So we know who we got there. Toronto and Florida. This
nobody's given Toronto a chance, and the odds makers, it's not even close.
I heard that, right? Yeah, yeah. They're all drinking the Florida Kool-Aid, but again, they've been to the Stanley Cup final 2 years in a row, right? Um, to knock them off, you got to beat them. This will
Yes, if you want
definitely
to beat
be a
the man,
bigger
you have to
challenge
beat the
for the
man.
Leafs than Ottawa was, for sure. Could come down to the goaltending, which I think we know Florida has the better goaltending, but um, this is a tough one to go. You're looking for predictions too, right now,
Sure, yeah,
on how this is
might as
going to
well. Go ahead.
go. I want to say Florida. I'm probably going to say Florida. There is some, biasness in mine because I would really like Carolina to play Florida again and right or wrong from the series a couple of years ago when they got swept, even though they dominated them all over the ice.
Right.
That would be nice. Um, so I'm going to lean towards Florida mostly on that because I think the Leafs have, like you're saying, people are acting like they're underdogs. The Leafs can score, and I don't. I also have that feeling the Leafs. This could be a series that really helps that core break through. Right, beating Florida would be huge for them. They'll lose to the Canes after that, but at least Toronto will feel better about the core for four if they get past Florida. So I'll say Florida. And I'm going to go 7 games in this one because I think it's going to be a very good series when it's all said and done.
Okay.
The other one, my boys against those Capitals. Um,
You love the Capitals, though. How could
I'll
you
admit,
ever
I
pick
only
against
watched a
them?
little bit of the Capitals Montreal. I know a lot of comments was that the Capitals didn't look that great in that series. Again, I'm not too surprised about it. I think they overachieved most of the year. And if their goaltending and some of the guys come back to earth, yes, I believe. And I'm pretty sure Carolina is favored by the bookies, even though they're all starting on the road. And I think Carolina will win this in 6 games, would be my prediction.
Okay, Mike. What about the East? We don't know everything here in the East.
You
West.
mean the
Or
West?
The
man,
West.
I get it. I'm all confused. Mike, let's go to the West then, because for whatever reason, I'm all confused here. We don't know everything yet in the West. What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's a little tough to say because I still think this Winnipeg St. Louis series is going to go 7 games.
Right.
Um, and
It could be over tonight,
I
though.
wouldn't. It could be. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. Like I said, if St. Louis won this series, like I wouldn't be shocked at all. So here's how I'm going to do it. If Winnipeg wins this series, they play. Um, lost my train of thought. Because Winnipeg plays
Colorado,
Colorado. Correct.
Dallas.
You know, this is a tougher one to pick because neither of those series are over.
That's
So
right.
if I still think that that Winnipeg, if they win this series, they are going to lose against Colorado or Dallas. I think Colorado and Dallas have too much depth and talent than Winnipeg, and I don't think Connor Hellebuck is going to be enough to save them. Um, if Winnipeg wins, now St. Louis wins. Unfortunately, I feel the same way. Is that the depth of Dallas and Colorado is going to be too much for St. Louis as well. Um, Although St. Louis's depth has shown that they've played pretty good, um, I just think Dallas and Colorado have a lot more talent throughout the lineup, and that's going to be the difference maker for them. Uh, for the other series, when you've got Edmonton against Vegas, this is also going to be a great series. So I think that it's a tough one. This is probably one of the tougher ones because I like both teams equally. Vegas has, a lot of veteran players on their team. Edmonton has McDavid and Draisaitl. So it's basically can Vegas contain McDavid and Draisaitl enough to win the series? Goaltending, the edge I think goes to Vegas here. I don't think Edmonton, regardless of who they put in the net, um, is as good or better than Hill. And not that I think Hill is a great goaltender either, but
Right.
he's good enough. So I'm
He's the
gonna
Chris
say,
Osgood.
yeah, Chris Osgood, Mike Vernon, like good enough, not superstars, but so I'm gonna lean towards, and this is a tough one. I think it's gonna go 7 games. I'm gonna say Vegas is gonna win, although I hope the Oilers win because I'd like to see a Canadian team go to play in the conference finals. But you know, we'll see. I'm gonna go with Vegas because of the depth, or not the depth, sorry, the playoff experience that they've accumulated over the years.
Now, just before we move on here, just rather quickly, who would you pick, Mike, in the East? Pick those two series in the East. Do you pick the same as Chris?
In the East, I think Carolina is probably going to win this series if they have Anderson back, and it looks like they're going to. I'm not sure. Kachetkov looked a little bit shaky,
Mm-hmm.
so I think they need Anderson to win this series. It's going to be a close series, though. I think it's going to go 7. Could go either way, but I'm going to pick Carolina. And the Florida Toronto series, much to your dismay, I am going to pick Florida, and I don't know if it's going to be as close as Chris thinks it's going to be. I think if Toronto can get 6 games into this series, they're doing pretty good. I think Florida's going to win this series in 6, but I think it could go 5.
All right. Well, we don't need to hear any more about you, Mike.
I don't want to hear any
Chris.
more of that nonsense.
Chris, just make a quick, what you think about the West.
Yeah, no, I agree. Jets, Blues, whoever wins that are underdogs. Are not going to win the next round. And yeah, I think Vegas, similar to the whole Toronto thing, I think Vegas could do it in probably 5. I lean towards Vegas in 5. I think they're not going to be the Kings. They're going to be a lot more solid, and I think the Oilers are going to struggle more to do what they did, like they did on the Kings. So I'm thinking
Okay.
Vegas in 5.
All right. Well, I'm going to go against you guys, of course, because I think Edmonton's going to win. And of course, Toronto's going to win because Bobrovsky is going to go on one of his spells where he's letting everything in the net because every once in a while,
Not against Carolina, though.
he does it.
Not against Carolina.
So that's what I think. All right. So if you guys are done with that, I'd like to go on to the Hockey Profits segment where you two are the Hockey Profits. And even though we had some losses in the first round, you still do quite well, I like to think. So are you two ready?
Yep.
All right. Number 1 is for Chris. If you could go back in time, Chris, and change one of your predictions, which one would it be?
Tampa making it to the Stanley Cup Finals.
All right. Number 2, Mike. Was the fight last Friday night in Montreal the turning point of the series?
I don't think it was. I think Washington was winning that series, whether that happened or not.
Of course, the media wants to make it out like it was, but
Yeah, they can. However, when you're looking at, what this series was going into this series, the odds were fully in Washington's favor. So,
all right. Okay. Number 3, Chris. If Ovechkin scores 6 goals against the Hurricanes, will Carolina lose the series?
No, because he's probably going to score 6 goals. He's going to stand in the slot in power play, shoot the puck in, and everyone's going to be like, "Why is there nobody covering him? Where are you, Burns? Brett, where are you, Burns? Cover the guy." Oh no,
Okay.
I can see him scoring 6 and Carolina still winning. Yes.
All right. Okay. Now, I don't remember which one of you I asked the question to, but I asked, would Ovechkin score 8 goals in the playoffs? And someone said no. I believe it was Mike.
How many goals does he have?
awesome.
4. He has 4.
I think it was me.
Yeah. And if he scores 6, well, that'd be 10. But anyway, we're just getting ahead of ourselves here. Okay, Mike, number 4. When was the last time you watched a playoff brawl like the one last Friday between Wilson and Anderson?
Oh geez, it's been a while since we've seen something like that. The one that comes back to memory is the Detroit, Colorado ones. I know it's
Oh,
been a
yes.
while, but those were,
Those were some knee knockers there.
yeah. I mean, those two teams hated each other's guts. So, I mean, there's that. I mean, Philly and Pittsburgh might
Oh,
have been
yes.
more recent than that. It actually was. That's when Crosby came out and said that he hates all or he doesn't like any of the players. He didn't say hate them.
Right.
He said I
Yeah,
don't
I
like any
remember.
of them. So that was the next one, and that one was, that was back when we had Brizgalov, who couldn't stop a beach ball either. But Philly still outscored them. I think that was the highest scoring playoff series. I don't know if it still stands, if that record still stands, but every game seemed to be like 7-5 or 7-6. It was uh, you know, and fights like Giroux was fighting, Crosby's fighting, you name it. Everybody on that was fighting. So yeah, that's the last one that I recall.
Well, if anybody else out there is paying attention, they can look it up and let us know in the comments if that was the high scoring series or not. Okay, number 5, Chris. Why did and I found this really strange. Why did the announcers blame everything on Dougie Hamilton?
He
Did you
had
hear it? Did you hear it? Everything that went wrong, it was Dougie Hamilton's fault.
Dougie Hamilton took some penalties, put the puck over the glass a few times. He did struggle a little bit. Again, that's why Carolina didn't sign him. Brett Burns looked better than Dougie Hamilton did in that series. But yeah, even I was a little. It was strange watching
I thought it was strange because it went on the
Dougie.
whole game.
Yeah, but Hamilton is probably similar to Bouchard, where he
Yeah.
seems to come off a little lackadaisical in the defensive end and not strong enough, right? 'Cause he's so big, and when he's got the puck and some smaller guy just takes the puck from him so easily, it's always like that. What's going on? Like, yeah, his focus seems to go in and out. So yeah, I can see why he was. Because I said Pesci was awesome, uh, but he definitely struggled. So yeah, I can
Well,
see why they kind of picked on him.
Well, I mean, they picked on him the whole game, and I shaking my head. I'm like, wow, if it snowed out tonight, somehow Hamilton would get the blame for it. I just
Hmm.
don't get it, but
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And finally, number 6, Mike, and I'm sure the two of you will be very glad when this is all over with. Will the Kings ever defeat the Oilers in round 1?
It doesn't look like it's going to happen in the very near future. Ever, maybe,
Not
maybe.
in not in the
Yeah,
McDavid Drysettle era. No.
exactly. Yeah, not as long as McDavid and Draisaitl are still with the Oilers. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. I mean, our show is long in the tooth here tonight, but I think we had a lot of stuff that we wanted to go over, and it is the playoffs. I think it's important. Was there anything else that you guys wanted to add? I know I already asked you once already, but if there's anything else you wanted to say, now's a good time to add it.
Yeah, let's talk about the what's going on outside the playoffs right now. And so, can you guys explain to me why Mike Sullivan is getting hired so quickly? Like, well, what has the Pittsburgh Penguins done in the last 6 to 8 years? Oh, that's right, nothing. They've done nothing.
Well,
He's
they've done
getting
nothing in
hired.
3 years.
He's getting hired based on winning 2 cups when Crosby and Malkin were the two best players in the league. And now he's going to continue to get paid one of the highest paid coaches based on this. This is again the old boys club in the NHL taking care of their own, right? I don't understand. I don't understand the whole concept of that. Um, and then the second part, of course, they announced the 3 nominees for the coach of the year.
Yes.
You guys have seen those memes where like there's guys with you know Army Rangers around on a building, and then there's a clown is within those Army Rangers.
Right. Yeah, I
That's
know
how
what
I
you're talking
see.
about.
That's how I see this. Don't tell Angel, but we know Arneal and Carberry. Yes, I get it. Those two teams are first and second in points. Those two teams had goaltending that played through top notch goaltending to get them there. Martin, St. Louis, really?
Well, it's because nobody expected them to make the playoffs, I
Well,
guess.
this says two things, right? Either Martin St. Louis is, the flavor of the week, or the Montreal team is really, really bad. They got a lot of bad players, and Martin St. Louis is like some kind of god and got them to the playoffs, like you just said, right? It can only be one. You can't have both, right? You can't have a talented team and a talented coach and barely make the playoffs. It's brutal. This is a no-brainer.
Oh shit!
That who's the guy who went to St. Louis? What's his name again?
Yeah, Montgomery. I don't know how he didn't get
Montgomery.
that
Like,
third.
what do you have to do to say,
Yeah,
hey, I'm a good coach? I went to a crappy team and I turned them around.
Yeah.
Analytics, everything, wins, analytics, points, whatever you want to look at.
Well,
Montgomery is not there.
obviously, when they pick the coach of the year, they don't look at analytics.
Wow, that's just terrible. I don't know if the media votes on this one. I don't know. I'm not sure who does the voting on this. I don't follow the little politics involved. But
I'm,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's
I'm,
brutal.
I'm assuming it's the media. Mike, do you know?
I'm not. I don't know for sure, but like Chris said, how does Montgomery not be in there with Arneal and Carberry? Uh, he got canned from Boston, and he got a late start with the Blues, turned that
Yep.
team totally around. I mean, if you were to go back to December, January, and say St. Louis is making the playoffs, you'd have got laughed at.
Yep.
There
Well,
was
if I would have said that, you guys would have laughed me right off of the microphone.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there was the chances of them making the playoffs were so slim, and not only that, the fact they passed Minnesota and almost, they weren't that far from Colorado catching them. So,
Right.
it was, is how he wasn't nominated is surprising to me, because when I saw the nominations, I'm like, huh? I even had that same confused look. Like, how does Montgomery not here? Like, I mean, Montreal, granted, they had a good year. They weren't expected to do well, but they squeaked in. And I mean, the East, those last couple spots, those are weaker teams getting in, as we've seen. Like, they were quickly eliminated from the playoffs. So, you
Right.
know, yeah, I don't get that one either.
Okay. Well, maybe our listeners, maybe our viewers out there can answer the question in the comments, and that's what we would like you to do. Let us know where we went wrong in the comments or where we went right.
I
We'd
don't want
love
to
to hear
interrupt
from
you,
you.
but
Yeah,
one
sure. Go
more
ahead.
thing is
Oh, I thought you were done.
that I wanted to bring up. Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Is that my favorite player of all time, Rick Tocchet, is not going to go back to the Vancouver Canucks.
Oh, yes, that's right. I heard that. Yes.
He is the front runner to join the Flyers as their new head coach. So, is he the
Stanley
best
Cup?
fit? Maybe, maybe not. But I'll be pretty. I won't say
Question for you though,
impartial.
Mike. Question.
Yes.
Do you think there's much difference between him and Torts on style of play
I
and
don't think
expectation?
there's not a huge difference.
Okay.
However, I do think that Tocchet will allow the younger guys to grow more into an offensive team, as opposed to, I mean, Torch didn't like these guys taking too many risks and chances. He liked to keep them play within a system, and I think Tocchet will give them a little bit more leeway. As you guys seen, after Torts was let go, the team played a little better offensively. They came out scoring 7 goals, the game after, 6 or 7 goals, whatever it was. Mitchkov had a little more freedom, got a lot more playing time. So, and that's what he needed. Like, they were restraining the offense that he could produce because he made mistakes, and they needed to allow him to make mistakes. I feel so. I think that the team's going to be a little bit better offensively. Defensively, they're not going to be much better at all. Goaltending, it's not going to be any better than what it
3
currently is.
franchise goalies. Come on, man.
Well, that's true. I mean, you look through the playoffs right now. Number one goalie in Florida, former Flyer. Number one goalie in Toronto, former Flyer. The current new number one goalie in Edmonton, former Flyer. So,
They can develop them. They just can't play them.
Yeah, they just can't
absolutely,
keep them.
absolutely, we can't play a system that works for them. So, because we have no offense. So, and like I said, and I've said this throughout the whole season, the only bright spots on that Flyer team is Mitchkov and Konechny. The rest have kind of just got to find their way and pull it together. But I mean, Torts did what he could with that team. I agree that, you know what, his style is a little bit, it grates on
Archaic.
people. So I mean, eventually the change was going to happen. I mean, he wasn't going to be the next John Cooper coaching in a spot for that many years. So, you know, and like you said, with Tocchet's style, it's similar to Torts, but I think he's going to be a little bit more lenient when it comes to these younger guys. So remains to be seen. And you know, he still hasn't even signed yet in Philly, but I fully expect this to happen. I mean, it's pretty much writing on the wall, as they say.
Well, you're not getting Sullivan, so yeah, I guess you'll settle
Darn.
for Tocchet.
Yeah, darn. You have to settle for Tocchet. There you go. All right, folks, we're going to end it there for tonight. Like, share, and subscribe. Let us know where we went wrong. Comment in the comment section, and we'll see you next week. Later.
Later.
See ya.